Howdy y'all, lteddy Eddy here, and a bit of a different video today. I forgot the point of separating my Hearthstone content from my old channel was so I can make stuff like this. Right now is the Quiet of the Storm, which is the next expansion, so why not showcase some of the off-meta decks that I've been enjoying? Not only that, but winning as well. Now take that with caution though. Off-meta decks tend to go with the wind, so only craft what you're comfortable with. First off is Highlander Paladin. I made this deck, so you know it's good. But I did a ton of refinements with it over time, and honestly, overall performed pretty good. Your goal is to summon and resummon lots and large annoying minions. Now, it's important to note, Tears only summons class minions. So I know this deck kind of has a lot of neutral types, but the class types are still pretty strong on their own. Now, I should also mention that Silverhand recruits also count as well. So maybe try to not report for duty on turn 2. You have some spells to contest early like Consecration, Mining Casualties, Showdown, and along with other healing such as Painter's Virtue, Kangor, Flash of Light, and the surprisingly good Holy Glow Sticks, which comes in clutch a lot actually. Also clutch is the Highlander Mirage card, which basically lets you play more than one annoying minion again and again. If you want to swap out some cards, I've seen people use Cattle Rustler to draw the Mirage card early. It's a solid choice, but it's also a 5 cost. It's also kind of not great stats and a battle cry, so you can kind of whiff it, and even then, turn 5 playing this, then turn 6 playing your Mirage, doesn't really feel good to me. I also had a version of the deck with a small earthen golem package as well, which was basically just Disciple of Amidus, and Stoneheart King in here. Obviously, the golems didn't get ginormous, but still pretty big enough to deal with anyway. Dance Floor has been really good, actually, for playing Pipsy or Kangor out early, so they either die right away and it doesn't feel bad just playing a 4/4 that's just there, waiting to die. Kind of like me. So don't cut out that card. Dance Floor is actually clutch. Anyways, I've had a lot of fun playing this deck. Definitely one of my favorites on this list. Moving on next is that I found that there's the Aggressive Spell Mage, which is kind of meta right now, but I found out if you headed past turn 5, it kind of falls flat. This version is a little bit bigger and greedier, playing Galactic Projection Orb, and at least having 1 spell each cost. Jaina's Gift is in here because at the time I was playing this, I kept going against different types of games, mostly Reno Warrior, and I need more card draw. And also just getting that Fireball was just enough extra damage to go face. If you find you're only facing against Paladin or Hunter, I would take Jaina's Gift out, maybe swap in something like Star Power or Flame Strike. I know Flame Strike is really weird in 2024 current year, but I swear to God, it's been fantastic, especially when you get to replay it from the orb too. But most of the time, you still kind of want to stick with just the Cosmic Keyboard out as early as possible and just get out that early tempo with Spot the Difference, Manufacturing Error, and if you hit Yogg in the box early and cheap, it is by far like the best thing you can do. Most of the time, it just clears the board and summons a bunch of big dudes, and there's no stopping it. Speaking of full board clear, I did make a Reno version of this as well. It doesn't feel great. Why am I bringing it up? I don't know, in case you have Reno and you don't have all the cards to make this deck. So there you go. It works okay. But back to the regular deck. The cards I'd say that the most changeable are Jaina's Gift and Frost Lichcross Stitch. And only one, Elemental Inspiration. I know it's a great card, but I found most of the time I only needed 1. Or if the game ran really long anyway, it'd be against Bomb Warrior, and then they'll just clear the board anyways, and then delete it from my hand with the bombs. So just through my personal experience, but running 1 seems to be okay. Because if you just get the 1, that's really strong and usually just overpowers them by then anyway. So not always the case, but food for thought. Well, speaking of food for thought, if you're like me and you want to have an energy drink and don't want a crazy amount of caffeine late at night, check out my sponsor, GamerSupps. They have caffeine-free editions of their drinks. It still gives you energy using all of their other ingredients like B12, B6, and biotin, also known as vitamin H, which sounds really weird. A small tub holds about 100 servings, so pretty worth it in the long run. Lastly, if you like anything else on the site, like this actually surprisingly dope merch, use my code SHAMAN to save 10% off site-wide. And using it does help support me directly. Okay, back to it. Excuse me, waiter. I would like some miners, please. Yes, mining warlock. That's what they usually say, by the way. Also known as snake warlock, is actually still pretty goated. Basically, your goal is to mine and excavate several times and play Azurite Snake over and over again. There's some new cards that help with that now. Endgame, specifically, to resurrect Moarg. And if you're in the long haul, even Sagrius. Honestly, using Moarg actually feels really good, since a lot of aggro decks just blow their whole board on it. And then for you just to summon it again and you get an Excavate treasure, hey, it's pretty nice. Frequency Oscillator is in here as well, mainly just to excavate earlier with Borobuster or Temporal Morog on turn 3, since I keep forgetting he's a mech. You know, fun fact, I was in high school and I had a drill on my arm and the teachers didn't call me a mech, so it also has a lot of board control to survive in this current meta, like Defile, Smokestack, Gul'dan's Gift to help sustain the early game. Tram Conductor Jerry is also insanely handy as well, especially against hand buff Paladin, because I find a lot of the minions are up with anywhere between like 2 to 6 health usually, so like they're big but not smokestack big. Puppet Master Dorian is here as well, and kind of shocked me of how good he was. It's a bit of a gamble to play him out into Smokestack, Mortal Coil, or Snake Oil, but any minion you hit is basically gold and just turns the game around. Okay, maybe not Frequency Oscillator, but still, everything else. That being said, the only cards that you don't really need to have is Puppet Master Dorian or Popgar. Dorian is a bit of a gamble, and by a bit, I mean a big gamble, and Popgar helps with aggro matches and lifesteal. He's nice, but you already have a lot of board clears as well. But at the same time, Popgar just fits into so many other Warlock decks, so. Hey, are you a Priest player? Well, and with that, Overheal Priest. Now, I know this is where we really go off the deep end, and I do not recommend crafting this. But it's worth noting that these games have been all over the place. Either this deck comes out down and just slaps, or you just die. There are no close matches with this deck. Your goal is to basically overheal whatever you see fit, and as fast as you can. Injured Hauler carries against aggro decks, and Heartbreaker Gideneus. I don't know how to say his name. Heartbreaker. Great Netflix show. Celebrate Pride Month. He can obliterate control decks, and you'll want to generally save your copy cards for him, since I've had games where it kind of spirals into a 1 mana deal 15 damage with him. Hidden Gem is a hidden gem. Slapping them out early is really key, and pips help with creating healing resources. I've seen people, including myself, run Wandmaker instead of Heartthrob, but I realized Wandmaker usually gives you something that you don't really care too much about. Plus against aggro, they either have to deal with a very sticky minion and ignore it, or with Wandmaker, they just ignore it. So, I mean, whatever, yeah. Go die, Wandmaker. Lastly, save the best for last. By that I mean the worst. Lime Bleach's Wave of Nostalgia deck. He doesn't know I'm putting this in the video. He sent me this over to play. I tweaked it up a bit, and this is a fun deck, not a good deck. And I highly recommend not crafting it, but it involves summoning as many little guys as you can, like Murloc Growlfin, Jukebox Totem, Building Block Golemn, and then you just draw and play Wave of Nostalgia as fast as you can. Now, the problem for me is that in this current meta is your enemies are either summoning just as many minions, and if I spend time clearing the board, I'm either overloading myself, killing my own guys because I'm trading, or they're just resummoning a bunch of minions as well. Like Pop-Up Book is amazing here, but for most of the time it doesn't do anything. Say on turn 6, because I maybe kill 1 minion of the enemy, and then I summon 2 extra minions, which is great, but also it's just that warrior just constantly clears the board anyway because they feel something is wrong when you play Jukebox Totem. So understandable. Have a nice day. There's definitely potential here, but I can't figure out a good balance. But I wanted to share that with you in case you could find something that maybe I couldn't. And there you have it. Some off-meta decks to play until next expansion. Hope you enjoyed this, and if you did, please let me know if you want to see more non-crazy edited videos like this one. Because again, I forgot the point of me having a Hearthstone channel is that I just have the freedom of being like, hey guys, I like Hearthstone. Plus, I've been trying to upload more onto my gaming channel as well, which kind of took me away from this channel for a little bit. Oops. But if you want to see me playing, I don't know, Persona, Helldivers, whatever, you can go check that out over there. And yeah, if there are any other decks I forgot to mention, let me know. But these ones kind of worked out with a general positive win rate, except for Limes. So he can bugger right off.